Hello and welcome. Today, we're taking a look at something really fascinating. How the world's top nations are completely rethinking the way they teach technology and information to get their students ready for the future. I mean, this is the big question, right? The one that keeps educators and parents up at night. Technology is changing so fast, it's almost impossible to guess what comes next. So how on earth do you prepare students for a world you can't even describe yet? Well, a really interesting new report gives us a peek into how some countries are tackling this. The Japan Society of Technology Education did a deep dive into 10 leading nations. We're talking countries at the top of their game in innovation and tech to see what they're actually doing in the classroom. So let's get into it. All right, here's our game plan. We'll start with a big picture look at tech ed and this idea of design thinking. Then we'll see why it's about way more than just coding these days. We'll check out some amazing real-world student projects, and finally, we'll wrap up with the key lessons we can learn from all this. Okay, so the first thing you notice when you look around the world is this huge shift that's underway. What we used to think of as shop class or woodworking is transforming into something completely different. It's less about learning a specific trade and way more about learning how to think like an innovator. And right at the heart of this shift is a concept called design thinking. Now, don't let the name fool you. This isn't about making things pretty. It's a whole framework for solving problems. It all starts with empathy, like really understanding what a person needs. From there, you brainstorm, you build things, you test them out. The focus is really on the process of creating, not just the final thing you make. And you gotta understand, this isn't some small change. It's a fundamental rewrite of the rules. You can even see it in how the course names have evolved. In the US, what was manual training is now technology and engineering education. In the UK, craft became design and technology. The goal isn't just to master a skill anymore, it's to build a flexible, creative mind. So what does this actually look like in a school? Singapore gives us a great example. They've really systemized it. Students follow this clear 4-step loop. First, you analyze what someone really needs. Then you brainstorm a bunch of ideas. You pick the best one and develop it into a real plan. And finally, you build a prototype so you can test it, see what works but doesn't, and improve it. It's a cycle of constant learning. All right, on to the second huge trend. This one's happening in what many of us remember as computer class. Information education today is so much more than just learning a programming language. For starters, just look at the sheer growth in access. In the United States, for example, the number of public high schools that even offer computer science has skyrocketed. In just 5 years, it went from about 35% to nearly 60%. That's a massive jump. It just shows you how high the demand is. But the really interesting question is, what are students learning in those classes? And again, it's way beyond just coding. New York's curriculum is a perfect snapshot. They're covering the social and ethical impacts of tech, problem-solving skills, how the internet actually works, cybersecurity, and just basic digital literacy. How do you use all this stuff effectively and responsibly? It's a much more complete picture of our digital lives. And in some places, they're pushing the boundaries even further into the future. Let's take Taiwan, for instance. Any guesses what their high schoolers are digging into in their tech classes? Yep, you're seeing that right. Big data and machine learning. These aren't just niche, university-level subjects anymore. In Taiwan, this is actually part of the high school curriculum. They are literally preparing their students for the jobs of tomorrow right now. It's pretty incredible. Okay, so we've got these two major shifts, this focus on design thinking and this much broader definition of information education. So, how do you bring those two things together? Well, the answer seems to be by having students work on projects that solve actual, real-world problems. And the things these students are coming up with are just, wow, seriously inspiring. In the US, you've got kids creating assistive devices for people with disabilities. In New Zealand, they're building automated systems to water plants. In Taiwan, designing robotic insects. In Singapore, testing out bridge designs. This isn't just busy work. It's hands-on problem solving. Let me give you one really specific and I think really powerful example from the US. A team of high school students was given a challenge. There was a 5-year-old boy with a muscle disorder, and he just couldn't reach the things on his desk. Now, that's not some abstract problem from a textbook. That's a real person with a real need. So what did they come up with? This. A tabletop that rotates 360 degrees, that he could control with a simple, light touch switch. They designed it, they 3D printed the parts, they wired up a motor, and they built something that genuinely helped him. This is what it's all about. It's empathy, technology, and creativity all coming together to make a real difference.
So, when we pull the camera back and look at this whole global tour, what's the big takeaway? What are the common themes weaving through all these different educational blueprints?
It seems to boil down to 4 main ideas. First, it's about the process more than the final product, focusing on ways of thinking. Second, integration is everything. The walls between science, tech, engineering, and math are coming down. Third, it has to be relevant to the real world, driven by authentic problems. And finally, the scope is just so much broader now, including things like ethics, social impact, and user needs. So here's the bottom line. Countries all over the world are actively designing new blueprints for what education should look like. This report from Japan has given us an incredible look at what they're building, and it leaves us with the same powerful question the report asks its own country. Now that we've seen the global designs, what will Japan build for its future?